welcome to the SparkPortal Show. Dan, I'm so happy to have you, and I'm so happy we're finally doing this. And I can't believe we waited this long, but I'm glad you're here. So welcome.
Excited to be here, Daniel.
Can you introduce us to you a little bit?
Absolutely. As you said, my name is Dan. I am the VP of Marketing at Steno. Steno is a court reporting agency and legal technology company. We support law firms during depositions and civil litigation and during the pretrial process. We handle the logistics, the technology, and then we work with world-class stenographers around the country on their depositions. So we're very much in the services mixed with the technology space. And I lead up the marketing team. I started about 2.5 years ago all by myself. And now I've built a team of about 23 people at the moment. We
Nice.
cover everything across the board from events, sponsorships to product marketing. We have an attorney on the team who's a legal solutions, demos, and thought leadership and keynotes. So we do all of the things at this point.
I know that you recently had a seed funding round, and can you walk us through a little bit of what was that like?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just closed and announced, I think, 2 weeks ago from the time of recording this for about $49 million. And it's going to really expand what we can do on the go-to-market side and the technology side. We have a lot of plans of what more we can bring to market, both from services that we can offer to law firms that we work with, but also on the technology side and really upping our game when it comes to our tools like Transcript Genius, our AI tool for transcripts on the back end after the deposition happens, and other pieces that we can bring to market. And I think on from the marketing side and the go-to-market side, it's especially exciting because there's a lot of investment in go-to-market. There's looking at tripling our go-to-market over the next couple of years, and then going after even higher end AM Law, American Lawyer, top 200 law firms. There's so much more that we can do once you get to that sort of level of a Series C.
Did you guys always know that was going to be like the what you were aiming for specifically, or did you discover that halfway there into your role?
I think every day is discovering new things and new places that we can go, especially when you go from having no
Yeah.
marketing to a team like this. There's a sense of excitement and interest, and the team can constantly be experimenting and trying new things. And because we're growing, because we're doing all these new things, there isn't so much of a push to not experiment, to not try, to not see if we could do something on this new channel, or maybe we need to try a new tactic on this other channel, because we have the space to be able to experiment and we have the audience that we can go after.
When did the unity come from? Was that something that you came into and it was just beautiful, or did you kind of have to work your way through it and then finally you guys made it? Yeah.
I think from the start of being at Steno, and it's about a 8-year-old company,
Mm.
and I've been here for 2.5 years. I would say from the start, I have felt that the culture internally has been very aligned and unified in where we want to go. And there was always this push to be more of the litigation process and more of the service side of the law. And so I think as time has gone on, there's just been more opportunities to add to that. But the team is always aligned on where we are trying to go as an
Mm.
organization. And that's this movement beyond just being a court reporting agency, which is a very commoditized industry. There are thousands of court reporters. They're all independent contractors. The stenographers can work with any agency. There's no contracts generally when it comes to depositions and the law firms. So a law firm could go from using us today to a competitor tomorrow and back the next day. But there's a lot more that you can wrap onto that. And I think as we've looked at what an agency like ours could be, a firm like ours could be, there's a stickiness that comes with the technology that we can offer as a
Mm.
part of the package of the deposition itself. We employ multiple lawyers and paralegals in the company, including on the marketing team. And we think that we can go after and help law firms because we know how they work in those workflows. We know how, because we have those people on the team, we can build products that work within the way that they work, rather than just being another tech company that's building a tool and then trying to get you to change your workflow and utilize
Yes,
that. It's a
exactly.
lot more
Yes.
native, as
It's
it
so
were.
annoying when they do that. But yes, I don't think a lot of companies realize how important that is to stay close to the customer. And through services, like that is your door in. You're right there.
Yes, it's a customer obsession, I think. And I think a lot of companies claim customer obsession. Oh, we're always thinking about the customer. Oh, we're always talking to customers. I don't think a lot of companies really are actually spending the time with their customers and understanding all of the different pieces of what makes up their day. And I think that's a big difference for how our team approaches it. Everybody from the product and engineering teams to the marketing teams to the sales teams, there are quite a lot of people that were our customers that are now part of our company, and they also spend a lot of time talking to our customers and bringing them into our development cycles and doing a lot of different interviews to make sure that we understand what it is that they go through and are dealing with at any given time. And we maintain about a 90 NPS, so I think that
Nice.
we can justify the claim of customer obsession.
If you can explain to us a little bit about how is marketing or what makes marketing to law firms and attorneys different from other B2B or SaaS audiences?
I think when it comes to what we offer, in the traditional space of court reporting, it's very much a commoditized market. So if you ask an attorney what they think about their court reporting agency, the usual answer is going to be, I don't think about my court reporting agency. But when they do start looking at it and they have these moments where they have to think about who they're partnering with, lawyers, paralegals, legal assistants, they are a very skeptical buyer. They need to see the proof. They need to feel like you are a partner. And so even as we're moving more into the technology side, we approach it much more as a partner rather than a vendor. And what we mean by that is that we can show the proof that we understand what they're going through, what they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, that we are building things that make sense in that, or also providing useful information outside of what it is that we would just be selling to them. So for our team in particular, it's around educational webinars or guides or continuing legal education credits, anything that we can provide that shows, one, we have people that understand what you are dealing with. We understand what you need to maintain your licensure to do the work that you're trying to do. But two, also that we are here as more than just something that you are buying one off. We are here to be able to supply you with the education that you need, the information that you need to keep you up to date. We provide things like CLEs, and when we're looking at like the ethics of AI, we do an ethical AI CLE. We are looking at what it is to represent your clients. What are your ethical obligations to utilize or not utilize or keep track of or check your sites, like whatever it is that you need to know about how to use AI, we are trying to show that we understand that as well. I think that when we're talking about a professional audience like lawyers, like paralegals, they value that kind of relationship. And it's not just like I'm going to the store and I'm buying whatever soda off the
Yeah.
shelf. I am looking for a partner that we can actually work with and work with long term.
So let's get a little bit into content. And one of the things that we did for you guys was do video content for events. And we specifically the ILTACON stuff that we did for you guys.
I think background wise, we can talk about how Steno utilizes video because I think it's important to understand the specifics of one given campaign. So to us, video isn't just a single tactic, a single channel, its own independent thing. I think a lot of companies look at video and the costs of production of video and everything that goes into it, and they'll do a video and then do a whole bunch of stuff around that video. We look at more of what is it that we are trying to do and accomplish? Who are we trying to talk to? What are the different ways that they like to consume their media? And then integrating the video that we do into that. ILTACON is one of the largest of the legal technology conventions of the year in the back half of the year. And last year was Steno's first time going to it. So we wanted to make sure that as we were coming into it, we were making a splash. And that was pre, during, and post. It wasn't just about, okay, we
Yeah.
bought a booth and we're showing up. It was about leaning into the theme of the conference last year, which happened to be pirates. and for whatever reason, but we go with it. We like to have a lot of
Yeah.
fun. And so as we were thinking about that sort of flow of how do people get to know us and know that we are here as a part of this and not just another booth that's at the event, we looked at video as a part of all of those things. So we did a series of videos that were that followed one of my team members, our social media manager, dressed up in a pirate outfit as he followed the map to the treasure at ILTACON. And we did the production and brought it back to you guys and had a whole lot of post-production done on these different pieces. But it created this really fun and interesting story that allowed our audience to follow along as we headed to ILTACON. And then once we were there, there's still more video to capture. We
Yeah.
did interviews, we captured video of the booth, which was, of course, a pirate ship. And one of our sales team dressed up as a mermaid. Like, we had it all. And we captured all of that, turned that into more footage that we used at the event. And then we used that post event, both in emails and in our social media. And then we also brought in some industry influencers and experts like David Cowan, and he produced part of his podcast at the booth, and we did video around that as well, and audio production around it. So all of it comes together in more of a cohesive story all the way through, from learning about that we're going to it to being at it, and then the follow-up that we did with the audience afterwards. So it wasn't just like we did this one video and then built everything around that. We went after it with the idea of what we were trying to accomplish, of making a splash and being at this conference for the first time. And then what are the different pieces that we needed to get us there? And multiple videos were telling that story.
How does it make sense that, hey, I don't have 100% of all the decisions made, of all the output that I need, but here's what I want to get done. Here's the result, and here's what I'm trying to go for. And then you get your team to help you get there.
I think it's a couple of things. And
Mhm.
first, and I say this to so many people all of the time, but perfection is the enemy of good. I don't even know if that's the actual saying, but to me it makes sense,
Yeah.
right? It's we can't we can't wait and get everything perfect and have all of the assets and every piece ready to go and then run the play, because if we're doing that, any one thing is going to screw up what we are trying to get accomplished. And we know that we want to accomplish this story arc that we want to do. We know the phases of what that story arc looks like, and we know we have to get content out. And if you are constantly trying to get that perfect, you are not going to get that content out. And if you don't get that content out, you cannot accomplish any of your goals. And so we often will start with, okay, we know for phase one, we have to have these different things. So we just churn that out, we get that piece done, and then we know where it's supposed to go. So while that stuff is now it's in post-production, it's now starting to get out on social media, the other stuff can start to get worked on. And then we're working on that on phase two of what this looks like. What's the next part of that story? And then at some point you get to the end. And maybe it wasn't exactly perfect and you didn't have every piece that you initially thought, but often you can pivot and you can think of new things. There were some issues with, let's say, the map that we created. And when we decided to come back around to it, we redid the map. And if we had every single piece already done, it's a lot harder to go back and change this and this than it is to change that, because you're finding it as you're going and you can then make that change and move to the next piece. When you're trying to get good marketing out there, you have to first get marketing out there. And you have to be willing to just pull the trigger and go.
What worked and what would you have changed about using video for event marketing? Maybe not a particular about that one, but in general, maybe.
I think in general, video works. And I think we can make that overarching claim that video is probably the most engaging way to go after the audience. So as long as you are willing to commit to it, to commit to the sort of full arc of using video as a part of everything that you do, you are going to increase the the output, the results that of any campaign, any project, any goal that you are trying to accomplish. I think in some of the things that we have done and something we've been talking about working through this year is we do a lot of interesting and different variations of how we utilize video, and especially around events. We do a lot more fun things before the event, but I think we have to get better about doing more structured interviews and
Mm.
other content that we can utilize more fully afterwards when we're at an event. We do a lot of candid stuff, a lot of candid capture, but I think one of the things that we want to go after and do a lot more of this year is having more of a sit down and interviewing
Yeah.
people, and we can chop that up and use that in a variety of different things. And I think candid video at an event is a little bit tougher to do that because
Yeah.
you've got the context of the event in the background. There's often issues with the audio and what you can actually get because
There's a lot of, yeah,
there's so much going
very
on.
technical. It could get technical pretty quickly.
Exactly. So utilizing more of a structured and taking the time that we have all these people out in the field, can we get them somewhere and get a little bit better video that we can then utilize in more content later?
I think you've told me this before, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't consider yourself a creative person, creative marketer, right?
Yeah.
So how does a non-creative marketer leverage this video, which is a heavily creative endeavor, right?
Uh, great question. I would say it's about the people, and
Okay.
that's internal and external. It's knowing where your strengths and weaknesses are and being able to shore up those weaknesses with the right people and processes and agencies, because you're not going to be good at everything. And I think some marketing leaders get a little bit caught up of I need to know everything about all of the different places in marketing. And I think that is where a lot of people struggle, that it's you're
Mm,
not going to be able to know all of these things. But as long as you understand and have a vision for bringing it all together, I think that you can leverage others, you can leverage the creativity of others. My creative director and my director of brand have a lot more interesting things going on, and they spot things that I don't ever notice
yeah.
within the design work and storytelling that's going on. But I feel like as long as I've got the overarching vision and I know how to bring these people together, and I specifically hire people that are curious and know more than I do in all of these things, then it's going to be successful in the long run. I saw a graphic not too long ago on LinkedIn that was like a VP of sales hires, basically they could hire an infinite number of people, but they only hire 3 people. They hire their
Mm,
directors, they hire their managers, they hire their AEs. But a marketing leader has events, has partnerships, has product marketing, has design, has content, has there are an infinite number of
mhm.
length or width-wise
Yeah.
that a marketing leader has to oversee, and if you get too caught up in having to know all of the things about each one of those pieces, you're never going to be able to bring all of them together. As long as you have the bigger picture of how they come together, you're not gonna necessarily get caught up in the, "I am not as creative as some of the people on
Mm.
my team," and that is probably for the best.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about the framework that you have here. Walk us a little bit about your philosophy on how marketing leaders should think about video.
I think the way, and obviously I've said it through this interview, but the way that you have to look at video is not looking at video as its own thing, as its own
Mm,
independent project or piece of the pie. It's as soon as you start to look at, okay, we need to create a video and then build things around that, you're going to start looking at the wrong metrics. You're going to start looking at what was the view rate of that particular video, what was the engagement rate of that particular video, and you're going to get yourself further away from what the ultimate goal is. And the ultimate goal is, for us, it's jobs booked, right? So it's what are all the different things that we can do to get to that? And when we approach video, it's far more about it being a part of that overarching goal. And so we want to accomplish this at this event, or we want to accomplish that with this campaign. There's going to be a wide array of tactics and assets that are used in that. And that could be some videos, multiple videos, that can be emails, that can be ads, that can be click-through demos. All of this is just a part of what you are trying to accomplish. And so if you are looking at your video production as its own separate thing and we just do a couple videos a year, you are starting to focus on the wrong thing about those videos, and they are not going to be the thing that boosts the rest of what you are doing. They are going to be the thing that you focus on, and then that harms the rest of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, we've seen it happen time and again. That's part of the reason why we switched from project-based to video as a service. And I know why. It's expensive, so it's hard to when you have to go ask for budget and then you do the video, you do need to focus on it because it's so much is riding on this thing.
I think a lot of teams, when they think of a video, they're thinking of high production. They're thinking
Mhm.
of this required maybe a videographer team and going out and capturing high quality video, and then it requires a whole lot of post production, and then that obviously gets expensive. That's a big piece, but there is so much that you do, that we do as marketers, that allows video capture that you can use in other ways. It doesn't have to be a high production video. I think in 2025 we did somewhere around 170 or 180 videos with you guys. Obviously not all of those are going to be high production pieces. They're not all sexy, but you could still use all of those in different ways. It could be organic social, it could be paid social, it could be in your email campaigns, it could be, there's a whole variety of ways that you can use those, that they don't have to be this $100,000 commercial that you put together. You ran an hour-long webinar, you've got 100 clips out of that you could potentially use. And then it doesn't become this thing where you're only focused on these high production videos. You can still do those are still important. We're still working on a whole bunch of those, but we're also integrating all of these other clips and pieces from webinars, from our podcasts, from video that we're capturing at events.
We always discover that each client needs their own thing. Each
Sure.
company has their own audiences and they spend time, and generally speaking, they all spend time on social events, webinars, like they all follow similar paths. But once you have ability to use a resource in a very tailored way for you, you start to discover things like, oh, we need to shorten the length here. We need to increase the volume on this particular thing. We need to spend more. This needs to be higher production. And so those are all decisions that you cannot make if you, like you said, look at it as a video as an individual thing.
Yes, exactly. I don't think we would know what works and what doesn't work if we were only running a couple videos a year. But running hundreds of videos a year, we can look at those metrics. And what I said before of like, you're going to focus on the wrong metrics, I think you can still look at those, are still important learnings, but they are in a different, you're in a different mind frame when you
Yeah.
have a bunch of them, and you can look at the metrics across all of those, versus you have this one video and that has to be successful.
Yeah.
I will never claim that all of our hundreds of videos are successful
I
in the
know.
year, but we did learn from them, and we learned what works and what doesn't work, and we can adjust as we go.
A lot of marketers know that they need it. They need more of it. And they need lower production value too, but they're having a hard time like selling it right to their boss, and or securing budget for it, and or more budget for it, or more
Sure.
time too, more internal resources. And so usually what I say is like a lot of this stuff, like you're gonna try, they're not gonna be like, you're not gonna attribute like specific deals, but you will start to see how the company's rallying around video initiatives. Around you're gonna hear it in your sales calls, in your prospecting calls. You're gonna see it in your website numbers, retention, all that stuff. And so you're gonna start seeing like these dark social type like in the darkness, right? You don't know exactly like what's the metric, but it's working because there's so many. It's being mentioned everywhere. Your team is like excited to actually go to the events now because it's, oh yeah, like we got video. I'm so excited. We're gonna show this, and versus, oh, I wasn't excited before because it was just me and the booth.
And we're big into the humanization of the brand. And I think if you want to humanize your brand, video is the way to do that. There's only so much that somebody can get out of a static image or a text post. But for your example of, if you're at an event and others are excited about being a part of it, we have sales reps that get very excited about being in the videos that we're producing in those. And ILTACON's a great example of one of our AEs getting dressed in a mermaid costume. And on the fly, we decided to do some video shoots with her, which turned out great. And we used them across organic social, and then she used them in some of her email campaigns afterwards. And we would have never gotten that if we weren't thinking of it like a system and being a part of everything that we do.
Do you want to give us like a summary of how you think through it?
Sure. I think for how we view it, it is about starting with what the outcome is that you want out of whatever it is that you're working on. And we can continue with the event as the concept. And we wanted to make sure that people understood that we were going to be there because it was our first time being there. So that is the goal. We want people to engage with our content before, and then we want them to be at the event and come to our booth and meet our people during it. And then we wanted to be able to follow up with people afterwards. Once you have identified what that goal is going to be, then you can work backwards for what are the different types of assets, what's the kind of campaign that we want to run. And then you're not starting with a video. You are now thinking about, okay, there are a lot of interesting ways that we could potentially show that we're going to be at this. And we used static images. We used maps of all the different things that you had to get through. We turned a bunch of those then into videos. And then that kicked off the idea around our stranded pirate trying to find his way through all of these terrifying waters around the different tech and everything, the pitfalls of technology. That is work back, and then figuring out what are the different things that tell the story that get you to that outcome. That's really it. It's not starting with the assets that you want or need. It's starting with the outcome and then moving back into the different types of assets and being willing to change those as you go.
Hmm.
Being willing to see that something is working or somebody has an idea and let's just throw it out there and try that out. I think that's
Yeah.
really like the steps for me.
Let's move on to what's top of mind for you right now. I know that you are growing your team. You just got your funding, and now it's move faster than before. And obviously, you cannot do that without people. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about, just because I know a lot of marketers are also trying to figure out how they're going to build their teams, right? And especially now with AI, we know we need to work with people. We know AI is important. And so I want to ask you, what's top of mind for you right now in terms of hiring and team building?
I look for curiosity. I think that you can train a lot of things into people, but you can only do it if they're curious about what's about the world around them. And I think if you can bring in somebody that is a specialist in, let's say, product marketing, but they're an incredibly curious person, they are going to be an asset for you across more than just product marketing because curiosity gets them into thinking about the broader systems and how does the team work together. So I've worked on many teams in the past that are very focused on this is my lane, this is the thing that I work on. I am a demand gen manager and I am focused on SMB, and that is I focus right here and that is the things that I do, and I'm not necessarily thinking about how the campaigns that I'm running show up for the enterprise team or they show up for the events team. All of these things play together. If you have a team that is not thinking about how everything interacts together and how
Mm,
your field team showing up to these events and what the design work is and the messages that are going on over there, if they're not thinking about how all of that plays together, you're going to have a misalignment, which is going to end up being a problem, especially as you scale. And the more people
mm.
that you add, and the more systems that you add, and the more teams that you add, if they are not on a constant basis understanding and trying to see what's going on with the other parts of the team, they're going to get into a silo that is going to end up hurting you in the long run. So curiosity to me is that number one thing that I look for in every candidate that I interview.
That's something you look for immediately in the interview process.
There's a whole bunch of questions that you can ask around that, but
Mhm.
really it's just how do you identify new problems or problem areas that
Yeah.
are outside of your space? And people will respond to that in a variety of ways, but you can get a good sense for if they really thought about it or if they were focused on what their part of it is.
And they usually light up.
You're looking for somebody that gets excited to answer that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If you're the candidate, you're looking to share really, hey, here's how I've solved a lot of problems, but a lot of these problems were not things that were brought to me. These are things that I discovered because that's what I enjoy doing. And so then that they light up. So that's really interesting to see that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as we're moving into this world of AI being a part of everything that we do, I find myself often, as I will put it, an AI realist. There are many things that it can do, there are many things that it cannot do. And I think that we are still very early in the stages of understanding what it can do and what the long term impact is going to really be. But you if you find people that are curious, and if you find people that like to learn and learn new things and experiment, I think that you will be able to keep up with or get ahead of all of the changes that are coming. If you all have a team of people that are so focused on their piece and they're not willing to learn new things, or they're not trying to learn new things on their own, not being told to do, you're not gonna be able to keep up. And
Mm.
I think that's what everybody's really afraid of at the moment. And while I'm not necessarily in the same camp of, oh, it's going to take all of our jobs in the marketing world, and that we'll all be all white collar, will be out of a job in 18 months or whatever the claim was, it's still a part of what we do. It's still going to
Yeah.
be more and more a part of what we do. And you have to have teams that are curious about what that impact is going to be and finding new ways to utilize it. Some people on our team are running AI lunch and learns, and they started that all on their own and pitched that idea to get the rest of the team to understand the things that they're working on, and then other parts of the team are bringing the interesting things that they're doing. And there's just a culture of curiosity and wanting to learn and try to experiment with these things, and that is what really will that'll be the moat for your team in the long run.
So let me ask you a more direct question here. If marketers are listening to this podcast and you can share with them, especially people that are wanting to work for you guys, what would be the thing you would want to share with them?
Be a systems thinker. Think about how all of the different pieces come together. I am hiring across the board, and those could be anything from a regional field coordinator to a product marketing associate. They're all going to have impact to the rest of the team and the rest of the organization. So I need people that think about how these systems work together. In that same vein of curiosity and flexibility, if you are thinking about the processes that go into, let's say, an event, we run 200 events a year. There is a lot of process that goes on behind the camera of getting everything to where it needs to be, and making sure that sales reps have the talking points that we want for this particular audience and at this kind of event. All of those touch different parts of the team. So if you're coming in here and you're just going to be a West Coast field marketing coordinator, that's not just that role. That's also going to be, how do you make sure that the sales reps in that region have the right things? How do you make sure that we're showing up in the right way with the associations that we partner with over there? All of these come together, and making the ads that are being run in that part of the world, all of these play off of each other. And so the team, anybody that's joining the team, needs to think about that. They don't have to own that. They don't have to be the responsible party for those things, but they do need to be thinking about how all of it plays together. And if you've got
Yeah.
ideas, bring them up. I try to empower everybody to bring ideas up to the forefront, because we're never going to learn or change or fix things if we don't all know that those are happening.
So now that you guys are hiring, can you give us a little window into what specifically areas you're hiring and what kind of roles can people just get excited about?
Sure, absolutely. We have quite a few that are open or being opened, and that is across our field team. So for field, it's events, partnerships, association partnerships, and our swag program. So we'll have a series of openings on that team this year, as well as our integrated marketing team is going to be growing. So to us, integrated marketing is brand and demand together. We look at it as one big full picture. So we'll be hiring brand campaign coordinators and associates, as well as some performance later on in the year. And then we will be expanding our creative team as well. So there'll be some copywriter roles opening up, and some potentially some social media roles and others that'll be coming later in the year. We'll be
Nice.
hiring quite a lot over the rest of this year. So feel free to check out steno.com and check out the careers tab.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate everything we talked about. I was going to ask you if you have anything to plug, but you just did. So it's great. If you're listening, for all our listeners, basically, Steno is such a great company. I would strongly suggest to apply if you're looking for a job, and keep them in your radar. If you're not, but you think you will in the next 6 months, definitely keep them in your radar. And again, thanks a lot, Dan.
Absolutely, Daniel. I appreciate having me on here.